Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, September 29th. Coming up in the week ahead, the spotlight is on jobs data and a few key market-moving earnings releases. On Friday, markets snapped a three-day losing streak with the Dow up 300 points, the S&P 500 higher by 39, and the Nasdaq adding 99 points after the Fed preferred inflation gate came in on target. Still, all three indices did close the week lower. Bill, let's get into Monday and a new week with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up a little over 0.3%, 0.33. We were up 0.4%. We were actually up over half a percent there for a while, but they've pulled back a little bit. I mean, really what's going on, it's there's some concern about the government shutdown that is looming. Now, President Trump has agreed to meet with, congressional and Senate leadership today. So that could be something out of there. But the problem is the House is currently out of session. So a brief shutdown remains likely as negotiations, remain deadlocked over funding and healthcare provisions. So we're going to see this as a developing story with more stories hitting the tape on this one later today. President Trump is scheduled to meet with the Prime Minister of Israel today. We'll see what happens there. Beth Hammack of the Cleveland Fed gave an interview this morning, came off rather hawkish in her commentary, especially regarding future rate cuts this year. Seen some gains this morning in the defense stocks. They're trading a little higher. Occidental Petroleum, OXY, is in talks about selling one of its divisions. It could be worth around $10 billion. Speaking of drug stocks, AZN, AstraZeneca making plans to list directly on the NYSE. On the earnings front, CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines, was trading higher this morning as we await their earnings release. To what else? After the bell today, you got Progressive Software, Vail Mountain Resorts, Jeffries. They're all expected to release. So, there could be something. Those are, some stocks to watch. And, then we're turning our attention over to the DAX. The DAX was up big. I mean, I saw the DAX up earlier this morning where it was higher by, about 0.3%. Since giving back those gains, it's up about 0.5%, 0.005% or 12 points right now. There's some positive action in healthcare and technology stocks. London, the FTSE's up 53 points at 0.58% with outperformance in the pharma sector. The CAC is up 18 points or 0.23%. Luxury stocks are outperforming. There's the key there. Then you're taking a look at Asia last night. Asia, for the most part, was higher, but the Nikkei did slip. There was some hawkish commentary from one of the BOJ officials. But it's trade. You got to remember it's trading at an all-time high, so there was some profit taking, and there are some concerns over the upcoming economic data that's being released. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng finished higher by 494 points. That's 1.89%. Nice sharp rebound after two consecutive declines. So the recovery is fueled by some comments that came out of the PBOC about additional support for the markets. In China, the Shanghai finished up 0.9%. There was a significant turnaround in Chinese industrial profits for August. They increased by 20.4% year over year after July showed a decline. So that was actually positive, which is why you saw the Shanghai market move higher. Then you turn your attention over to oil, and oil is lower. Oil is trading lower. I mean, Iraq came out. They made the decision to resume crude oil exports on Saturday after a 2.5-year halt. These are the exports that go through, to Turkey. So, that brings out additional supply. And then there's an OPEC meeting next, on the 5th, I believe. So you're looking at oil. Oil's trading down, WTI is at $64.50 a barrel, and you got Brent at $69 a barrel, down more than 1.5% this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update, Emily.
Bill, we start this new week on a Monday here as we inch towards the end of the quarter. As you mentioned, looming government shutdown. We got a lot going on in terms of the Fed, watching for clues on their next move, along with a bunch of corporate headlines that are worth noting this morning. We're going to get to more of all of it throughout today's show. We will start with earnings action. There's a few to note there. You already mentioned one, so let's dive in. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Well, we're waiting on Carnival, CCL, Charlie Larry to announce. I mean, stock's currently up, about 1.76%. The expected move is like 7.41% when they do release. Yeah, we're still waiting on that report. But after the bell today, you got Progressive Software, PRGS, Paul Richard Gray Sam. Their EPS is $1.30. Expected move is a little over 15%. Then you have Vail Mountain Resorts, ticker MTN. Their EPS is negative $4.78, an expected move of 8.77% when they release after the bell today, Emily.
When it comes to economic events this week, we have a couple of key data points that we're watching, and this is now following Friday's PCE report that came in as expected. That is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. We're watching other pieces of data here throughout the week, gathering those details, really getting a picture on the health of the economy and making guesses on what the Fed may be doing next when it comes to monetary policy. And on that front, a whole host of Fed speak to be watching today. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
In terms of the reports today, 10:30, you get the pending home sales for August. 10 that comes out at 10 a.m. 10:30, you have the Dallas Fed manufacturing survey, but you got a lot of Fed speak going on. 7:30, Fed Governor Christopher Waller is expected to speak. 8 a.m., Beth Hammack from the Cleveland Fed. Then at 1:30 p.m., we're going to hear from John Williams of the New York Fed and St. Louis Fed Bank President Alberto Muslam. They're both speaking. Then at 6:30 p.m., you're going to hear from Atlanta Fed Bank President Raphael Bostic. But really, the eyes are on, this meeting with President Trump and congressional leaders, because, if a shutdown does occur, it's going to affect the release of some economic data, including Friday's jobs report. That shutdown is likely to delay that report as well as other economic data reports that, because many federal agencies compile this data and they're going to be furloughed and they're going to be operating at limited capacity. So those reports may not come out. So we're a little cautious there on those reports coming out, and especially if the government shuts down. And with Congress on leave, I don't see how they can stay open. So I do kind of expect a short, shutdown of the government, but we'll see if that occurs on after the meeting with President Trump today, Emily.
Bill, interesting point there. A government shutdown, has reverberations throughout the market, and one of those being the holding of that information. We're not able to get those economic reports, amongst other things. So a key driver today, we'll be watching any news on that. And speaking of watching news, you're also watching other types of news, data, and information. In your opening, you had a number of, fairly notable corporate headlines, and you follow all of that type of news using your NewsWare. You follow merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You look at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 3 lower. I got 3 unchanged. That means I got 24 higher. That's positive. Look at my FANG stocks. A little weakness in Apple, but everything else is trading higher. Look at some of the news behind the tape, and like Amazon, their web services division, they announced a multi-year collaboration with Murex. Tesla, their sales numbers are due out later this week. Now, EV sales are likely to face plummeting sales in the U.S. because they did demise that 7,500 federal tax credit. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw some weak sales coming out of Tesla later this week. Look at the Dow Jones 30 stocks, and we got to start off with Apple because there's a B of A survey that's out there that's indicating strong demand for the iPhone 17. There's another one out there that's saying weakness, so they're kind of offsetting. But you look at Apple; it is trading off about 0.3% this morning. Talking Visa, ticker V. Visa is going to be launching its VCS Hub commercial payments platform with AI capabilities. Okay, Nike, ticker NKE, they're releasing earnings tomorrow afternoon. Expected move is $5.80. Put call ratio is 0.63, all positive. In terms of merger news, GMAB, Grace, Michael Appleboy, they're going to be requiring Muras for $97 a share in an all-cash transaction. That value of that deal is like $8 billion. And EA, Electronic Arts, that stock popped Friday afternoon is report that the video game maker is going private. Ticker EA, Aldous Apple. And then, in terms of catalyst calls, SEE, Sam Edward, Citibank ups sealed air price target, and they opened up a 90-day positive catalyst watch on the stock. SEE, Sam Edward, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Well, we're sort of rounding out September here, starting a new week. What is your pick of the day today?
Going with United Foods, UNFI, Uncle Nancy, Frank India. I mean, the fact of the matter is earnings are due out tomorrow morning. Now, you look at the EPS, it's for a loss of 22 cents, but the expected move is 13.6%. And you look at the call volume, 1,482 calls versus 291 puts. And then you get the open interest, 19,261 versus 13,221. That's leaning positive. So, listen, if I can get into this stock, 31.40, give or take 15 cents, I think that would be a good entry price. But that's my pick of the day. United Foods International, UNFI, Emily.
United Foods on an earnings play. We will follow that one along with you. And coming up, we will take a look back on Friday and do a recap on that pick of the day. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Fed's hammock, something's changing in the labor market. Uber Eats announced a couple new partnerships for delivery. Okay. United Airlines announces new U.S. Borders and Custom Protection Initiative. Lamb Wesson, they're releasing earnings tomorrow morning. Expected move is like a little over $6, but the put call ratio is 11.32. That's very negative. Biogen, BIIB, Etsy, and Biogen announced their drug was approved by NMPA in China. Lilly and Novo Nordisk, the weight loss drugs may help Alzheimer's patients, is a story out I saw this morning. AMD, Trump is considering tariffs on foreign electronic-based the number of chips. President Trump frequently describes a booming U.S. auto industry fueled by new factories from Canada, Mexico, and Europe that he said will soon be producing American-made vehicles for the global market. Data shows something different, though. President Trump came out and said that they should fire, a new executive at Microsoft who used to work in the Biden administration. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading on this Monday and start another week, let's do that check-in on Friday's pick of the day, which was Kenvue. Now, the stock did move higher on Friday. It's picking up some momentum following those, Tylenol-related headlines where it took a little bit of a hit. And there was an analyst upgrade to buy on Friday, which helped it as well. Bill, how did your call work out?
Well, it worked out. You look at the stock, it opened up at $16.42, and then it did fall to $16.18, and then recovered, hitting $16.53. You look at the stock right now, it's trading 16. You look at the stock right now, and Kenvue is trading $16.50. So, my gain happened in the first 30 minutes of trading because I said, listen, entry point 1625-ish, and if you got in around there, yeah, you made your 1%. If you held on to till this morning, you made your 1% more. So, Kenvue, KVUE was a winner on Friday, Emily.
A payday on Friday there, Bill, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's United Foods pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.